A Jesus not afraid to get his hands dirty, so much so that he was an expert at healing lepers. And leprosy is a disease we don't really know a whole lot about because we don't deal with leprosy in our culture. But let me give you the Cliff Notes version of leprosy, a terrible, dreadful disease that attacked the nerve endings of an individual. And those nerve endings would eventually die, and the person's flesh would turn pale white because all the blood wasn't able to get to the end of those nerve endings, and they couldn't feel anything, and they would literally begin to lose their extremities. The sight and the smell of a leper was overwhelming, and worse yet, it was an airborne disease, and it was definitely a touch disease. And if you made contact with a leper, it wasn't maybe you will get leprosy, it was just when. And one of the first things you knew when you got leprosy, not was just that you were going to die, but the most devastating. You said, what's more devastating than death? I think maybe there is something more. It's dying way before your heart and your brain knows you're dead. It's the moment you realize no one in the flesh ever gets to touch you again. That you never get to have human contact again. This is what a leper faced. No one ever gets to hug me. No one ever gets to kiss me. No one ever gets to hold me. No one even wants to be in the same room with me. And yet, remarkably, Jesus, a man who's trying to show you what a real priest looks like, loves to use these. And so Jesus walks into rooms with lepers. And in a world where a leper infiltrates you, Jesus infiltrated leprosy and would hug lepers and put his cheek against a leper and hold a leper and touch a leper. And the very fact that they felt human contact, some of them hadn't felt human contact in years, and then, oh, what a human. It lays his hand on them and a charge goes through their body. Way before they're healed physically, they were healed emotionally because someone dared to touch me and to love me. Jesus was a man who knew how to use his hands. I use this all because having read this text to you, I don't know if you caught the illustration that the author uses. Go over it one more time. 18. On the one hand, there's an annulling of the former commandment because of its weakness and its unprofitableness, for the law made nothing perfect. On the other hand, it's actually a bad verse break there, I think. The translators might have been better served to start verse 19 with the phrase, on the other hand. It would have popped a little better, because on one hand, we have one thing, but on the other hand, we have another thing. Why does the author use this illustration of hands? Because we're in a diatribe about priests. And to every Jew, they knew that the hands of the priests were essential. If that priest laid his hands on you and touched you, wow, what a blessing you would receive. When he touched your sacrificial lamb, it meant something. When he washed in the brazen laver, it meant something. And when Jesus stretches his hands out at Calvary and dies, it's not just a man having nails ran through his hands and through his feet. It's the symbol of everything God would bring to mankind. It's the stretching out of his love to humanity and willfully pinning himself to your curse, willfully taking into his hands all of your failures, all of your sins, all of your sickness, all of your diseases. And the author of Hebrews says, on one hand we have one thing, but on the other hand we have another thing. So let me introduce you to this priest tonight, who takes care of one thing on one hand and one thing on the other hand. And the news is so overwhelmingly good as to what he has taken on one hand and what he has given on the other hand that I'm excited for this journey.